Hi everyone, we're delighted to bring you the next instalment in our Ange Insight series. Today we are chatting to John Hutchinson, former footballer best known for his time with Central Coast Mariners, where he was actually a teammate of Tom Rogic for a short period of time. Also an international with Malta, 11 caps for them. Since retiring in 2011, he's gone into coaching and he was recently an assistant to Ange Postecoglou at Yokohama F Marinos. We'll just jump in right there, John, to where you first came across Ange, and an interesting story, I think, of how you ended up working for Ange during your time initially at Seattle Sounders.
Yeah, I was, thanks for having us on the show, by the way. But first it was 2020 and I was in Seattle and COVID obviously took over the world and it started becoming like a little bit of football's a lonely place. Coaching's lonely already. That's how it is. But it was becoming a very small, lonely place. And I didn't know what to do. I was kind of like, my family were homesick. Obviously, we were away from home at a stage and I just, football was becoming difficult. So I wanted to reach out to someone that I'd never spoken to, but I obviously admired from afar. So I reached out to Ange via LinkedIn and just said, look, I know of you. Obviously, you coached against me, so I know you know who I am. I've never spoken to you. I've spoken to him once to say hello, and that was it when he was national team manager. So I said, look, I'm just reaching out just for some advice. I'm stuck away from home and struggling and just kind of went from there and not really expecting a response, but got a response about 24 hours later, and just read the mail, and it was about just staying positive and football and this whole thing where I just felt like I just got a full energy charge from a guy that I didn't really know. And so then, I just cracked on in Seattle then from then on. And then he reached out a few months later in September, October, and said to me there could be a position available on my staff. Would you be interested? And so I was like, yes. And then we went from there. We interviewed and I was on the phone with him for about 55 minutes, an hour. He said that if I wanted to come, the job was mine. And I walked into the lounge room and told my wife we're moving to Japan. And that was it. That was I moved to Japan. It was the first time I actually held a conversation with him in person properly. So never worked with him before as a player. I'd never held a conversation with the guy previously. And then next I know, he's the boss and running around coaching sessions for him and getting the team trying to play the way he wants them to play.
It's crazy. I mean, your story is slightly different in that you did have contact with Ange prior to the job offer, albeit online contact rather than real life. But others like you, we've spoken to numerous, coaches that have worked under Ange, and their job offers have come completely out of the blue. You probably feel like yours did as well. He must have been thinking about you and that message for weeks or however long. Like, he must just, and maybe a normal person would just reply to that and kind of go, right, that's fine. He must have been thinking, can I use this guy? Can I give this guy an opportunity to further his career and improve what I'm doing?
Yeah, honestly, it was crazy. I didn't reach out for I said if there was ever anything I'd be interested kind of thing at the end of the email, just because it was Ange. And he, for Australian people, Ange is just my opinion, Ange is the best coach we've ever had, even before he went to Celtic. And obviously what he's done in Celtic just defines him even more as a football coach. But yeah, when he offered me the job, it was a surreal moment, honestly. Like, for me, to have this guy that I've looked up to and followed through his football manager career. And I don't know if I ever told him this, but when he was manager of South Melbourne and I was a young footballer, I actually travelled to South Melbourne, which was 2 hours from my house, to go and watch his team play. And I actually never told him that, but it was always you could see what he was always, I just loved the attacking stuff. And then he actually coached in the grand final where his team beat us in Australia. And, he never actually brought that up, which is a positive. But yeah, for me, it was always just about learning off him. And the growth was fast. The growth was rapid. And I know lots of coaches say the same thing. It's just like, from day one to the day he left, I was just in awe of this guy that inspired everyone to be better.
So you go to Yokohama F Marinos, you join up with Ange and Dyson Maeda, obviously, as well. They had won the league in December 2019. What stage were they at when you came in?
Yeah, in 2020 they had a difficult year. Obviously COVID, and it was just a difficult time. I think they finished 9th, 10th, 11th that season, and then I came in 21, and I was actually running pre-season from Australia with another Australian coach who was in Japan, and I was doing it via Zoom. So it was weird because I was organising all the training sessions without really. I had no contact with players because obviously the language barrier. We had translators everywhere all the time. So I was running these, organising training and what we're doing at training, and putting together session plans and speaking to an Australian coach who was over there, my assistant coach. So there was Ange's manager, I was head coach, and then there's a few assistant coaches, and one of them was an Australian, a young guy who's brilliant, by the way, an absolute brilliant coach. And I was in contact with him, but we're running double sessions in Japan. So like we're running a session, I'm jumping on Zoom, I'm in Australia, I'm going through a session, I'm watching it, I'm going back through the session with him. Then we're organising the second session, and then we're running these second sessions, and then I'm waiting for him to come back to me. It's like late at night. We're jumping back on Zoom again. Like it was chaos. But then I finally got to go into Japan. Obviously, all the borders started opening up a little bit, and I got to go into Japan. And my first training session was crazy. It was crazy, mate. I remember just being on the field, and we just finished warm up and a bit of touches and skills, and we're coming into a rondo. And I had my head down looking at a piece of paper, and I remember just glancing up, and I knew like this is how we train, and this is what we want to create, this environment of like, we run between, I'm sure Celtic do the same now, but we're running between breaks and players are flying everywhere, and the sessions are 60 minutes, and it's crazy. But I've actually kind of stopped, just have a couple of deep breaths and go, okay, here we go, and put my head down and lift my head up, and there's players everywhere. So I'm looking around like, oh my God, like, what are they doing? They're just everywhere. So I'm just like start yelling names out, and I've got translators, and to get used to that was incredible. But just a guy, yeah. Like when I came in, the club we finished second that season. Kawasaki Frontale it was too good for us that year. We got him within a point, and then all of a sudden we couldn't maintain, and they just shot away. And but Dyson, I loved working with Dyson. I just think he's a just incredible footballer. The guy just does not stop. Like it could be 5-0, you're winning, and he's still closing down fullbacks and terrorising them. And the guy is great to work with. And yeah, I just remember with Ange, it was every day there was no, when I felt like I was getting somewhere and I felt like I was like getting comfortable, the landscape changed completely. Like he would just change and push, and we want more and more. And there was I never felt like that full, like, okay, we're settled, we've got it. Every time we felt that, it was just like, okay, we need more, and we need more, and we need more. And yeah, it was pre-season, there was a couple of changes. Coaching staff like myself, there's a new fitness guy that came in but couldn't enter the country as well. And so I was trying to communicate. He was in Greece, I was in Australia, training was in Japan. I had staff that didn't speak English, so I had to get translators on. We had these meetings, and it was fun, mate. It was fun. I enjoyed every moment. It was difficult. Don't get me wrong, it was really difficult. And I was very fortunate that Sean, who's the other Australian coach, Sean Ontong, that he was in Japan, and he spent 2020 with the team. So 2021 became easy for myself having him there, because I could explain what I wanted in training, and I'd have to show him diagrams, and we were going through. It was over Zoom, mate, over Zoom. So, and then just to get to Japan and start working was amazing.
Just going back to the training stuff, I think you kind of mentioned it a minute ago, but I want to just clarify. Players run between drills, they don't kind of walk about.
Yeah, I do it here as well, and it takes a little while to get used to. And I had a moment on my first training session where I was like, okay, just, I'm on the grass, I'm super excited. I'm working with some incredible people. I've got Ange standing about 15 meters away, just staring at us, making sure training's going well. I think there's 3 or 4 translators on the field at that time. There's like players, there's staff everywhere, and you're in a foreign country, and English isn't the spoken language, and mate, it was chaos, man. If I could tell you that moment what I was feeling when I popped my head up and there's just people running everywhere, and I'm just like looking like, oh my god, like what is happening, And then it's happening, but to be involved in it, and Ange is massive on that. Like, and I took that from him, and that's a big thing that I turned around in my own belief is about training. We train here a maximum any day, maybe 65, 70 minutes, because that's all they can handle, in the intensity that we train at. And I got that from Ange. I took that from Japan, and I always had a belief in training, intensity and hard, but he just takes it to another level. And they run, mate. They you literally, like, they're running to water, they run to the session, we kick it off. We have small breaks, we go again. And what you're trying to do is, obviously, football for me is always growing. It's organic, and there's never stopping. Like, they might pick the ball up and throw it in quickly, and we've got to react to that and be organised. And that's what you're trying to do, is making sure the players they're organised all the time, making sure that they, I obviously followed you guys very closely last year because, obviously Tom Rogic, I started following you guys when Tom Rogic went there, and I loved that. And then when Ange went there, and your slogan of, we never stop, and that's training, mate. That is training down to a T. It's just from the moment the players step on the field to the moment they walk off the field, it's helter skelter. It probably took me a good couple of weeks to get used to all that, like the movement of stuff. So, even changing between drills, we used to aim for a 2-minute changeover to have them ready in a foreign country with translators yelling names out and just trying to get people in positions and ready to go again. So, it's the way and that's him, that's Ange. Like, that's, he designs the trainings. Like, we design the trainings and we make the trainings, and he oversees everything. Don't get me wrong, mate. He oversees everything. You think he's not watching or he's missed something? You're kidding yourself, mate. The detail is unbelievable. If you misspell something or some name or something, he's onto you, like, straight away. And training and all that, you miss a detail, or you're not preparing them properly, or training's not up to a certain standard, you're going to be in a bit of trouble. The boss is going to call you over, and you're going to get a good caning for it. And he creates those environments, and that's the way his football is. And I know you guys enjoyed the football, but that's just the beginning. You guys are in the beginning phase, and I hope that he gets the chance to keep continuing what he's doing from last season.
Yeah, it's really interesting talking about training. You probably won't know this, but Celtic actually did an open training session at Celtic Park recently. I was there. A lot of people were there. There was probably about 5,000 people there just come to see the team training under Ange. And it's really interesting. He stands on his own 10, 15 yards away from the drills. He lets the coaches kind of organise it and run it, basically. But he's always watching, arms folded the whole time. And he doesn't miss anything. He doesn't really say anything either. He doesn't really shout anything often. But you know that he's logging things up here, don't you?
Mate, the first few weeks was a bit strange. So I was running training and organised people and making sure the flow of the training session, what we're doing for training. And at first, the first few weeks, it's hard because, like, you're putting together something, you train the guys, training finishes, he walks off, and you're like, did he enjoy that, or did he not like that, or like, what are we thinking here, And then there's times where you're doing the training session and he's just staring. You're like, does he like this, or is he like, am I about to get killed? Like, what's happening here?
But that's the whole thing with Ange, isn't it? He keeps you on your toes.
It's intense, and that's what I'm saying to you. Like, every time you feel like you're about to go, okay, we're going okay here, he will just up the ante somehow. Like, whether it's in video and training, or he wants more, or he wants the sessions to flow faster. And it did take me a few weeks to get used to it as well, like not getting any feedback or not getting any during training or just running the training. But once you get used to it, like, honestly, like, I didn't even know he was there half the time because you're so involved in the session. That's what he wants, like full concentration on the players. So, we're running training. Times I wouldn't even know where he was positioned on the field. I'm just running training because he's so involved, and we want these players playing a certain brand of football. But yeah, it's eggshells, man. It's like you're walking on eggshells every day. Like, you're like, where is he? Oh, let's do this or let's do that. And he just drives a really high standard, and I know sometimes we think that because he's Australian and we're not sure what we're going to get from a guy that's Australian and has a funny accent, but he drives standards to the point where all you want to do is continue those standards. It's not you buy in so much that you want to continue to drive standards because that's how this football club has to run. And yeah, the whole staff, all the players are so bought in Japan. Like, when the day he left was a difficult. When we heard all the whispers of him leaving, up to he left, even the week after he left was very difficult. We took over as interim manager, and we lost the first game in like a league, a cup game, and we lost that, and we won the next 4. But his presence was always there, like for us, and we continued to train and try to play the same way. We changed a couple of things, in terms of, because I'm not Ange and I can't continue. So I did change a couple, but only small modifications. But yeah, he leaves a big shadow on the training park when you're there and you're training guys and you just see him. And that's him. That's how he likes it, And, I know you say he was distant, and maybe there's 4 or 5 days in a row where I'd say morning boss, I'm going to get a morning hutch, and that was the extent of the conversation for days, And then the other days, he would start talking about something and you would literally just get your notepad out and start writing and just go crazy. Or we'd do game reviews where he would review the game and talk about maybe information we've given players or et cetera, something like that. And when he opened up like that, it's brilliant. Like, for me, it was a massive eye-opener.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on training because we've never really done that before in one of these interviews, and I do find it fascinating. In terms of moving on and into his messaging, you say that he always wants to raise the standards at a club. Knowing Ange and having worked with him, what do you reckon the message would have been this summer for Celtic after winning the league there? How does he do it with players? How does he keep those standards high?
It's just football. Everything for him is football. He's a winner. The guy wants to win and wants his football to be a certain way. And, I was fortunate enough to obviously be with him when the team come together for the first time in pre-season. And the guy's a winner. Like, there's no part of him that likes losing at all. And the initial drive comes from the football. And that obviously comes from the coaching staff in terms of the intensity of training, the flow of training, how quickly we move between areas, the information we're giving players and making sure that the information is correct, what he sees it. And that'll be the first part he will drive. He'll drive the standard of training and he'll drive the standard of the football, and he'll want more from the players. Like, he's going to demand so much more from them. And, the signings coming in, obviously we'll see training and it does take a little bit to get used to. And then the football, for me, some of the football Celtic played last year I really had a great time watching it. It's fun to watch. It's remind me of some of the stuff we were doing in Japan. Some of it's different, some of it's the same. But yeah, he'll drive staff initially, and then the players will be driven after that in terms of the football that he wants to play and keep making improvements in certain areas.
Did you have any dealings with Mark Lawwell at all at the City Football Group in your time in Japan? Because he's obviously at Celtic now working with Ange on recruitment.
Yeah, no, I didn't. And this is one thing that Ange done when I was there in Japan, was that my literal every day was the players and the staff. And that's all I had to worry about. I had no anything outside of that. I wouldn't even know what was going on. Like, I didn't know who was trying to sign. I didn't know who we're looking at. I didn't know if we're getting rid of players. Like, sometimes you just turn up and there'll be a new player and you'd be like, okay, cool.
So he wouldn't come to you and say, should we sign this guy? What's your thoughts on it?
No, nothing. I'd have nothing to do with team selection, nothing to do with my sole role was to organise staff, organise training, take training. And that is all my focus was put on. And obviously that included video, individual team video. If we would do obviously opposition reports, listen to see what he wanted in terms of pressing. I kind of knew how he wanted to play and pressing. There would just be key information I need to do to get across to players. But again, my everything was the players and the training, and that's all. I couldn't wait for that, and I lived for that, and couldn't wait to get in the training park and get these guys going. It was such a joy being out there every day, and I didn't talk to agents, I didn't talk to scouts, I didn't talk to anyone outside of my little bubble. That was bosses. He took care of all that stuff, and he protected us from all that stuff. And our focus was literally the players and the team.
Interesting. I want to talk about team talks because that's obviously a big thing when we come on to Ange. I think it's well known now that Ange enjoys a team talk and that he's very good at a motivational team talk before a big game. I feel like every one of these interviews I do, I get a better knowledge of Ange's team talks. We know that they're all different. We know that they're finely tuned to fit the certain circumstances. We know that he uses objects at times. He uses memories, emotive subjects. Is there anything you can add to our wealth of knowledge on Ange team talks or any team talks that spring out?
Look, I learned a lot from him in terms of team talks, and I changed the way I'd done team talks from when I was a younger coach. I'm only 42. I still consider myself a young coach, but you are getting older, and it is like the biggest compliment I can give him is I would literally put a pair of boots on, and I can't run anymore, but if I could run, I would run through anything that he told me to run through. Like when he's finished talking, like the passion, the energy, the love, it just almost oozes off him. And when he talks about personal stories, and it's like you start a story here, and all of a sudden the story moves to here, and it gets back here, and it's over there, and all of a sudden it all just joins back up down the bottom, and you're just like, wow. And some of it's emotional, some of it is emotional, some of it plays with your emotions, and some of it makes you think about stuff outside of the football that inspires you to be a footballer. And honestly, after majority of his conversations, some were short, some were long, some were just straight to the point, some we're coming back around and we're telling this story to get to a certain point. And my biggest compliment I can say is that every time we finish, I just want to whack a pair of boots on and just go and kick someone and just drive and just go, okay, what do you want me to do? I'll do anything you want me to do, because that's how it felt, and I don't know if the boys feel the same, and it's always different, but when he stood up and he just commanded attention, like just commanded the room, and he was in complete control of the situation with his voice, the way his body language, the way he spoke to people, the eye contact, the hand gestures, and everything for me was. I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about him as a person in those moments, and the key motivations for him, depending on situations, wavered from emotional to pure fans. Like he used to speak about the fans a lot in Japan, about football's for them, and I believe in that so much. Like football is for the fans, and let's go and do it for them. And he always knew where to go with his stories or his team talks or whatever you want to call them. And I just find them. First time I heard the first one, I was just like, wow! Like someone give me a pair of boots. Let me just line up the first player, because I can't last 90 minutes. I'm lasting about 2 minutes. And I'm just going to go kick someone and just walk off, because it's just one of them things where everyone wants to play for him. And that's his biggest thing. Like those team talks, it's not just about the team talk. It's not just about that moment. It's him as a human and a person. He just makes you want to work for him. He makes you want to be, it's like some superpower that he draws you in and makes you feel a part of this incredible football club and this power. And even when we were in Japan, like I wanted to work so hard, because I believed that what I was doing was making the team better, and this whole revolt. And his team talks reflected on that stuff. And it's not just a team talk, like it's everything that goes around him, what he tries to produce. And look, I'm an outsider looking into Celtic, but the boys look super close, staff look close. there was a harmony about the team. They were humming along perfectly. You could see when they scored goals how much it meant to everyone. And I don't know if you had that in those previous seasons. We've obviously gone back and started watching lots more games. I used to watch Tommy play. I loved Tommy Rogic. We were car buddies together, so I love Tommy Rogic. And so I obviously watched a lot of football, but it just seemed like there was a different aura about this team. And he honestly starts that. And the team talk's just a small piece of what he makes you believe and be a part of and driving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to actually be sent one of his team talks from his Socceroos days, and just so people are aware, these go on for a while. So, I mean, some of them are short, but they can go on for 20 minutes, some of them, and they can, you know, as you say, they weave, and this specific one was the story of a certain Australian player I won't name's career, and Ange went into what this guy had achieved and how he'd overcome the odds, and then basically said, you know, you're going to win for this guy tomorrow night to all his team. So they're incredible. Just finally on the journey, because we hear about the journey quite a lot. Was that something he spoke about a lot?
Yeah, the journey's never straight, mate. It's a roller coaster. That's what he told me.
As you alluded to there, you know, the bond between the supporters and yourself and the team remains really strong, even in the wake of Sunday. But, you know, as we get closer to the prize, I think there's a natural tension and excitement in supporters too. How do we all deal with it collectively over the next few weeks over what might be a bit of a crazy ride?
Just like you're beginning the ride on the scariest roller coaster you've ever been on, mate. No, just you know, hope that it all ends well, but enjoy the ride and the ups and downs.
When I first joined him, he said to me, and I love it, he's like, it's a roller coaster. This journey isn't from A to B in a straight line. Like, we're going to have ups and downs. We're going to have great games. We're going to have not so great games. And it's a roller coaster. And I was still in Australia at the time when we lost our first game to Kawasaki, Frontale 2-0. And I spoke to him the following day, gave him a call and said, hey, like, you know, and he's like, nah, it's okay. It's a roller coaster. And it stuck with me from that moment, like, okay, like the ups and downs, it's not that, it's the football. Like, for him, it's football. And yes, he wants to win everything he's involved in. That's just who he is. But yeah, it was the journey. The journey for him is, and he speaks about the journey all the time because it is a journey. And I agree with that. Like, it's not, I always say to my players, here's something a bit different, but every great ending has a beginning and a middle. And what that beginning and middle looks like, we don't know. Like, that whole journey through there can be ups and downs.
Ange, I know you're really big on the story and the journey, and you say that to the players quite a lot. What does the next step of the journey look like?
I don't know. I don't talk about the endings, you know. As I keep saying to the players, I don't want to sell us short. So if I can say, you know, I didn't say this year we wanted to be champions, or, you know, whatever sort of ambitions I had, I'll leave that. What's important is, that, like you said, the story is that if we can be a better football team next year than we were this year and keep improving like we did, then we're going to be in a pretty good place, and that's going to bring us moments like this. But what's really important is that, you know, we understand that you've got to, you know, we hold the pen to our story, and those words are written by us. So, you know, how we want it to end is going to depend on, you know, the words. I'm getting a bit philosophical here, but the words we put down on the paper.
Don't forget, the journey is for staff and players and the club and the fans, and the journey isn't just for one person or one group. It's the whole club. Like, we're on this amazing journey together where at the end he can see the goal. And I remember an interview he'd done. I used to listen to all his interviews, and they asked him about, it wasn't the greatest start for Celtic, and he actually said to someone, like, I didn't know they hand out trophies in September. You know, and I was like, that's the journey. You want to know about the journey, mate? That quote, the roller coaster, stick them together, and that's, now you're talking about the journey, you know, because they don't hand out trophies in September. You know, they hand them out at the end of the season, and that's what he's talking about there. Like, the journey is literally like, and those things that he said with me stuck with me forever. Like, they'll stick with me, and I use them all the time because the journey is what it's about. I'm sure you fans, I'm sure the staff, and I'm sure the players and the club never what was the start of the season? No one knew it was going to happen towards the end of the season. You know, if you read some people's comments, he was out by December. I had a lovely tweet. A lovely guy hit me on Twitter and tell me, don't tell Ange not to come. He's not welcomed and all that. And I was like, you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Like, you should be tweeting me back in 12 months' time after you see this guy in action, because that's how much I believe in him. I know everyone in Australia believes in this guy. And he's been on a journey, you know, and he just wants everyone to come on that journey with him. And it's a crazy that you talk about that, because it is a big thing that he will talk about to everyone, players, fans, staff. Like, this journey isn't a straight line. The journey is up and down and zigzags, and it fall apart, and we pick it back up again, and then we just keep going. So yeah, it's a nice thing he has going.
Yeah, I've just got questions popping into my head at the moment. The final one, he doesn't set end kind of targets for the journey either, does he? He doesn't limit himself. It's just continual improvement. He won't say, I want us to win this cup, will he?
No, I've never. Look, internally he talks about, like, winning is a big thing of him. Don't take this journey that it's okay to come second. Like, he ain't in it to come second. There's no possible bone in his body. But if you come second, he would go, okay, that was a successful season. Like, that is just a negative. Like, that's a no chance. And so there is the winning side of it. But, yeah, it's just how he operates. Like, he doesn't worry about, he doesn't focus on the end, we're going to win this trophy. Because the journey's up and down, but don't get me wrong, mate. There's no second in his life. There's only first place in his life. And to get there, he's going to be the roller coaster rider that we spoke about. But, he's a winner. He'll have his team playing football. And the journey is about the football, about improving all the time and getting better. And, you know, watching the season unfold, Celtic were getting better and better every single week. And they had games where they weren't so great or whatever. And, you know, the football wasn't so great. But you can't play every single game great. Like, there are going to be times when just something happening, or the other team is just having a good day or whatever. But yeah, when I was in Japan with him, we didn't have goals to say. Like, we didn't say, but everyone knows what he wants. Like, he doesn't have to say. Like, I don't sit there and go, oh, I wonder if he'd be happy with second. Like, he ain't happy with second. Like, he wants to win it, and that's who he is. Yeah.
Listen, I could stay and chat to you for the next 6 hours, I think, but we'll let you go. It's been fascinating hearing from you, John, and I dare say you'll just be keeping abreast of everything that's happening with Celtic and hoping for some success in the Champions League.
Yeah, look, it's and for the club as well. You know, you become fond of the club because I took Tommy when I was playing with Tommy, and you know, I always have this thing where I watch players I played with, so I love Tommy, and I know he's now moved on, but you know, to have Ange there and someone I worked with and someone that I would look like towards as, like, and call him as much as a mentor. And yeah, I honestly, I'm in awe of the guy. And I would, you know, he said to me, come work for me at Celtic yesterday. I would be swimming my way to Scotland somehow, finding a way there, because that's how much it means. Like, it means to us Australians that for him to doing well. So every game Celtic played, I can watch, I watch. And, you know, I support them all the way. And Champions League for me is unbelievable. Like, I hope there's success because I know that's a big competition. But, again, that's part of the journey. You know, it is part of his journey. It's part of where he wants to go with the club and take them. And, I can't wait to see the league, and I can't wait to see all the cups. And, you know, this is when I see him on TV and the happiness he's got and what he's trying to do for the football club is unbelievable, and that's what makes us Australians proud of what he's doing.
Brilliant, John. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.